Good afternoon, children.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
You know the portions for your exam. Animal tissues are not included for the SA1 exam. You have only up to plant tissues. And to 9B, I told them that they'll be having a test on this Friday at 7 o'clock. I'll be sending the link. You don't have to join any board, but I'll be sending the link. You will attempt it. And 7 to 7:30 is the time. So Friday, be prepared to write the test. Do it sincerely. That is very important. Whether somebody is monitoring you or not, that is different thing. But do it sincerely. You will get the question paper Friday, 7 p.m. Agreed? So revise well and score full marks.
Ma'am, MCQ.
Yes. MCQ. Because 9th standard, your SA1 exam is also MCQ test. So a test also will be like that. And not just one test, you will be having more of this type. But just to begin with, I am giving you a revision test on Friday. And we'll continue with animal tissues. So what are the 4 types of animal tissues, Lakshmi? 4 types of animal tissues.
Mummy.
Lakshmi Nandakumar.
Epithelial.
Epithelial tissue.
Muscular tissue.
Muscular tissue. Then what is there in your brain? Who can help her?
Ma'am, nervous tissue.
Nervous tissue. Then
Connective tissue.
Connective tissue. So all the 4 together, Lakshmi Nandakumar will say. Say all the 4 together.
Epithelial tissue, nervous tissue, connective tissue, and muscular tissue.
Okay. So we were discussing about epithelial tissue and we learned several points about epithelial tissue. What is the main function of epithelial tissue, Lynette? What is its main function? Children, either turn the video on or you may leave the session. I'm fed up of saying. You have 2 options. Either you turn your video on, and if you have genuine issues, message me. I will get it confirmed or clarified with your mother or father. Yes.
And they are the covering tissue or protective tissue.
They are the covering or protecting tissue, protective tissue. Alan, why you are wearing mask? Are you at home?
Yes, ma'am.
You're okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Then why you are wearing mask at home?
On construction.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
So now let's see more about epithelial. The permeability of the cells of different epithelia plays an important role in regulating the exchange of materials between the body and external environment. So you know that our internal organs, external body, surface, all these are covered by epithelial tissue. It is covered by epithelial tissue, and thereby anything entering or leaving, or anything which is leaving or entering the body should pass through this particular membrane, epithelial membrane. So its permeability is very, very important. Permeability means what? Ability to allow substances to pass through it. Impermeable means the membrane or the layer which cannot permit substances to pass through. Semi-permeable, which will allow certain substances to pass through. And permeable means which will allow substances to pass through it freely. Okay, so the permeability of the epithelial cell is very important to promote the exchange of materials between the body and external environment. So what is separating your body from the external environment? The entire body. Skin is a type of epithelial tissue. If something has to enter your body from outside, it should pass through the epithelial tissue. So only if the epithelial tissue is permeable, materials can enter from the external environment into our body. That is what is said. The permeability of the cells of epithelial tissue plays an important role in regulating the exchange of materials between the body and external environment. If anything has to leave your body, to the external environment. And if something has to enter your body from the external environment, it should pass through this epithelial tissue. Anything entering or leaving the body must cross at least one layer of epithelium. So if the epithelial tissue is not permeable, they will not be able to, or there won't be any exchange of materials. And the cells of the epithelial tissue are very closely packed without any intercellular space, without any gap, and there is a little amount of cementing material. Cementing material is a material which holds the cells together, which cements them together, which brings them together. Cement, you know, what is cement? Cement is used for holding those bricks together, isn't it? While during construction, we use cement to fix things. And here there is a small amount of material, cementing material, which will keep them together, less amount of cementing material, and there are no intercellular spaces. And next point, epithelial tissue. You know that epithelial tissue is covering your internal organs, covering your entire body. So separating epithelial tissue and the underlying layers, underlying tissue, there is a membrane. You call this as extracellular fibrous basement membrane. Extracellular means it is not made up of cells, it's a fibrous membrane. Extracellular fibrous basement membrane will separate epithelium from the underlying tissues. See, if this is epithelium, if this is the epithelial tissue, and beneath that there are so many other cells. This pen is not writing properly. I'm not drawing it. Okay, there is some problem with the pen. Once again, I will say the epithelial tissue is separated from the underlying tissues. So epithelial tissue is the outermost layer. Beneath that, there are so many tissues. So what is separating epithelial tissue from the underlying tissues? An extracellular fibrous basement membrane. Got it? Extracellular fibrous basement membrane will separate epithelial tissue from the underlying layers. Is it clear? So that you should know. Once again, permeability of the epithelial tissue is very important. That will decide the exchange of materials, that will result in the exchange of. So if it is permeable, it will promote the exchange. If it is not permeable, these materials cannot exchange. So anything what is entering or leaving, if something has to enter from the external environment into a body, or something has to leave from our body to outside, it has to pass through the epithelial tissue, at least one layer of epithelium. So it is very important that epithelial tissue is permeable. Only then the materials can be exchanged. And these are very closely packed without any intercellular spaces, and very little cementing material is present in between the cells. And an extracellular means it's outside the cell. Extracellular fibrous basement membrane. An extracellular fibrous basement membrane will separate underlying tissues from epithelium, or epithelium is separated from the underlying tissues by means of an extracellular, something which is lying outside the cell.
Extracellular means
Outside the cell, lying outside the cell. Intracellular means within the cell. Extracellular, outside the cell. So lying outside the cell, there is a fibrous, there is a basement membrane. In between these two, there is a fibrous basement membrane. Now we will see the different types of epithelial tissue. First one, squamous epithelium or squamous epithelial tissue. Squamous epithelial tissue are of different types. Okay, the first one, the first type of epithelial tissue is squamous epithelium. Squamous epithelium is further subdivided into different types. So first one, simple squamous epithelium. It is found in the cells lining the blood vessels, lung alveoli, etc., where exchange or transport of substances is taking place through a selectively permeable surface. So squamous epithelium is the first type of epithelial tissue, and a subtype of this squamous epithelium is simple squamous epithelium. And where can you find them? In the lining of blood vessels or in the lung alveoli. And in both these cases, you know, whether it is blood vessel or lung alveoli, exchange of materials are taking place across the blood vessel, across the lung alveoli. Gases are being exchanged across the lung alveoli. Even in the blood also, exchange of materials, gases, different nutrients, etc. are being exchanged across the blood vessels. So where transportation of substances are taking place through a selectively permeable membrane. And this epithelium is extremely thin and flat, and it forms a very delicate lining. It's very thin and flat. This point is very important. Why it is very important? See, here it is written. It's very thin and flat and forms a delicate lining. And it is through this squamous epithelium that the exchange of materials is taking place. But if this is very thick and it is very hard, will it facilitate the movement of materials? No. Only when it is thin and flat and delicate, materials or gases can get easily exchanged across this epithelial tissue. And we can find squamous epithelium even in esophagus. Esophagus is our food pipe, and lining of the mouth also you can find squamous epithelium. Once again, squamous epithelium are of different types. First type is simple squamous epithelium. You can find them in the lining of blood vessels and also in the lining of lung alveoli, where the transportation of materials is taking place through the semi-permeable membrane or through the plasma membrane. Simple squamous epithelium consists of thin and flat cells, and they form a very delicate layer, facilitating the exchange of materials across it. And esophagus and mouth lining also you can find squamous epithelium. And squamous epithelium, second type, stratified squamous epithelium. What is meant by strata, children? Strata. In geography, I've learned strata, stratified rock. Such a rock is there?
Stratosphere.
Stratosphere is there, but here it is stratified. Strata means layer. Stratified squamous epithelium means, see in the previous figure, there was only one layer. See, only one layer, very thin and flat, single layer of epithelial cells. But here you see several layers. Cells are arranged in several layers. So squamous epithelium, when they are found in several strata or several layers, you call it a stratified squamous epithelium. Skin is an example. Skin is, its function is to protect our body. It is an example for stratified squamous epithelium. Children, if it was just made up of single cell or a single layer, what will happen? If your skin was made up of a single cell, wherever you touch, the skin will peel off. But it is made up of several layers so that it can resist wear and tear and provide us proper protection. They are arranged in many layers to prevent wear and tear. Otherwise, we can't touch anywhere. As soon as we touch, the paint will go. Okay, the skin will get peeled off from there. So it is found in many layers, arranged in many layers. As they are arranged in several layers, you call this epithelium as stratified squamous epithelium. Skin is a typical example for stratified squamous epithelium. Here the cells are arranged in several layers, and since they are arranged in several layers, you call it a stratified squamous epithelium. Why are they arranged in several layers? To resist wear and tear. Okay. Now about columnar epithelium, we will see in the next class. So summarize the points that we learned. Yes. Who will start? Lakshmi? Lakshmi CV.
Yes, ma'am. Some types of epithelial tissues.
Now, before that, we learned about the permeability. Some features of epithelial tissue we learned. No, what was that? What were the points?
Anything entering or leaving the body must cross at least one layer of epithelial tissue.
Very good. Next point. Amaljeet, another point.
They have only a small amount of cementing material between them.
They have got very little cementing material and there are
almost no intercellular spaces.
No intercellular spaces in between. Then, Advait Murali, next point.
A small epithelium is usually separated from the underlying tissue.
By means of what separates them?
By the extracellular fibrous basement.
Membrane. Without looking, you say that last word once again. Extracellular.
Extracellular fibrous basement.
Basement membrane. Extracellular fibrous basement membrane. Alan, tell me about simple squamous epithelium. Simple squamous epithelium. Tell me about single squamous epithelium. Alan.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I write only
that is not an excuse. Who will say?
Simple
squamous epithelium. Surya.
Simple squamous epithelium
Alan,
is
listen.
a flat and thin.
Thin and forms a delicate layer. Where can you find them, Jairus?
In the blood vessels and transporting.
One more place I said. In the lining of blood vessels and also in the lung. Lung alveoli. You can see it in the lung alveoli. And in both these cases, transportation of substances are taking place across the membrane. So this has to be very thin and delicate. Otherwise, the transportation or exchange of materials cannot take place through this membrane. Then what is the next point that we learned, Nivedya?
Ma'am, it is found in the esophagus and also in the lining of the mouth.
Then we learned about one more epithelium, Fadil. What is that?
Yes, ma'am. Stratified squamous epithelium.
Okay, where can you find it?
Ma'am, it is found in the outer.
In your body, where is it found? Skin.
Skin exam.
Okay, good.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, children.